Roll call. Fred Sin, Ellen Stanton, Billy Costello, Mike Lee, Tom Gaines, Chase Vine by phone. Jason has a family emergency. Can we get a motion to excuse?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
City staff, Braden Wainwright, Dan Pratt, Kate Douglas by phone, Clint Drury by phone, City Clerk Debbie Cragen, Airport Manager Darrell Schultz. At this time, I'd ask you to stand for the invocation, and it is presented by retired pastor Dale. You have this motion.
I just want to mention my mother is here with me tonight, Evelyn Warner, class of 39. Father, we thank you for your goodness. We thank you for your blessings. Thank you for the beautiful fall day we just had and the beautiful fall colors. And as we reflect on your goodness, we ask for your help tonight, that you would bless all these proceedings, that you would bless the mayor and the city council and give them wisdom and understanding of the issues they have to deal with tonight. We ask also that you protect our law enforcement and our fire department as they go about serving, and all the city employees, that you would bless them in their labors. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So before we move on, I would like the Scoutmaster to come up and introduce your spokesperson and why you're here.
Jason Sinclair, one of the Scoutmasters of Troop 203, and this is Jackson, the Senior Patrol Leader.
Yeah, so we're troop based in Eden. We got a bunch of scouts all over from Colbert, Riverside, Chattaroy, out Deer Park. I'm the Senior Patrol Leader of the Boys Troop, and this is
Maria Denton. I'm the Senior Patrol Leader of the Girls Troop.
Why are we here?
Yeah, well, we're here because there are a few requirements for a couple different merit badges, as well as a couple of rank requirements that we need to just come to one of these and ask some questions. So thank you for having us.
Thank you. All right, number 4, approval of agenda. The motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 5, approval of October 1st, 2025 regular council meeting minutes.
Motion approved minutes. I'll second.
The motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, item 6, interest of citizens, oral communications, requests and comments from the audience on unrelated agenda items. David, you are up.
Hey everybody, I'm David, Northern Ridge Disc Golf. I sent an email to Alexa today with some stats for the course that we built behind the high school. It's only been open, so-called open, for 3 weeks now, and I have to make an apology. I forgot to use a multiplier in some of those numbers so they're going to get bigger. So there's a website out there called UDisc where we can track stats for usage on disc golf courses. And so for 3 weeks now, stats have been tracked on that course. Now, I'm going to preface this with a couple of things so you understand this is only the beginning. So there are, during this period of time, in the last 3 weeks, some of the biggest tournaments in the Inland Empire have been run. So they have detracted from that. The Farragut Open, the Spokane Disc Golf Club Open, and others have pulled away from this course. There's been no formal announcement that it's there. It's just been word of mouth at this point. You cannot find the course by searching on the internet for it. The only way you can find it is to go to the website called UDisc and actually type in the name. So you have to be aware it's even there to do that. And there are no T-pads installed yet, although that has begun thanks to Zach and the rest of the guys. So this will affect some of the numbers, but in 3 weeks, there have been, let's see, like 935 rounds of disc golf played. That's over 27 a day. 70 different players. Over 2,000 miles of walking have taken place. That would be 4 million steps and over 400,000 calories burned. It even tracks calories on this app. The point of that is that even though the course isn't up and fully run yet, the investment made by the local group by all of us, thankful to Alexa and the city's helping us get through this. It is already showing that people are using the course and it is getting more used. With time, that will only grow. Once the formal announcement's been made, we have done all that, the tee pads are in, spring hits, you can expect quite a lot of people coming up here to play disc golf on that course. So thank you all very much for your indulgence over the last many months as we've constantly pestered you and worked with us in a phenomenal way. And thanks to the club guys, I've been around disc golf for 20 years. I have never seen a bunch of guys work so hard to get a course up and running. They pointed their nose at it and they went at it. And I applaud them all for their hard work.
Thank you, David. Ryan, you too. David, you're up.
Hi, David Camp. For the council, I have a written summary of what I'm going to say, so I'll hand it out to you here in a second. So I just want to share that, as many of you know, last Wednesday, October 8th, we had the luxury of welcoming 2 representatives from Congressman Baumgartner's office, Steve Bruckman, who is a field representative, and Andrew Rolls, who is the director of outreach. And I just want to thank you to Mayor Tim and the city staff for coordinating this visit and accommodating to meet with the public on a short notice. So I attended this meeting in 3 capacities. First, my professional duties, working for WSU, trying to train physicians for the state of Washington, and I know that federal funding is so key, so I wanted them to hear from me to really support the needs that we have for Washington, especially in rural Washington and eastern Washington. Secondly, I came as a concerned citizen because I know that federal resources are essential to us here in Deer Park, whether it be for healthcare or city infrastructure such as roads, water, and sewage. And then thirdly, as a candidate for council, I wanted to explore what that relationship between the city and what may seem far away, the congressman's office, because I think that relationship is important and is something that we should leverage and strengthen. And joining me in attendance were the mayor, 2 council members, Councilman Costello and Gannon, a couple of members of the press, and then a few citizens of the community. And again, this was short notice, but I think it was a good event. So I was really impressed with the approach that they took, because they really came here with the desire to hear what our needs are. And they were intentful to go around to every person in the audience to listen to them. So I really, really appreciate that. And among us were 2 common themes, one being water and second being healthcare. And so I come to you tonight not only with this update, but I have 2 requests from council. So my first request is next time when they come, if we have the opportunity, let's publicize these, what they call the mobile office hours, with the intent of the format. I think this was a seed that we could really grow and to expand so the congressman's office hear what our needs and desires are. Secondly, they talked about this window of asking for money. And so, my ears perked up, and they mentioned a window in March, and I don't know the process, but they said that they were able to ask for federal money, and they mentioned this just to see what ideas we had. And we tossed a few around, such as water treatment and so forth. But my ask of the council is to, let's provide their office with a list of our needs. And it could be a wish list. If we don't ask, we don't get what we want. So, and then let's continue that conversation and collaboration. So, really appreciate the opportunity tonight to give this update and these requests. So, pass around.
Thank you, David. Mrs. Palmer.
I am the organizer of what we called the Deer Park Community Choir. We have since changed our name to Neighbors in Harmony, which is the goal that I had in mind, that we as neighbors get together and sing together and share our voices with the community and so forth. And we take 18 and older, and we meet every Tuesday night in the band room at the high school, 6:30 to 8, and they are sounding absolutely beautiful. I tell them, you're making my dream come true. So we would invite anybody here that would like to sing with us. We have 1 tenor and 4 basses, so you can kind of a lot of women, but altogether I think we have 22 people signed up to it. But we have like 17 or 18 there every week. So we need tenors for sure. We need a place to have our concert. We've scheduled it for December the 7th on a Sunday afternoon so that it doesn't conflict with school activities or anything else. And we're trying to find a church in which to hold it, or some kind of a facility, if whoever can think of one. You have to have a piano, and a place for us to sing, and a place for the audience to sing. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Next up, item 7, new business. Letter A, Deer Park Superintendent Alexa Ullman, you have the floor.
Good evening. Thanks so much. It's almost like I planted Nyla and David, but I didn't. I didn't know they were coming to me. But one of the things since I was hired into the school district, and I've always said this, Lee has heard this because he's been on Chamber, but anybody on Chamber, as well as part of the city council, has heard me say that I think it's really important, especially in a small town like Deer Park, for the city and the businesses and the school district to come together as one. Because in a small community, if we come together as one, we can serve the community as a whole. We as a school district have some fantastic facilities, and we're doing all that we can to make sure that our community has access to our facilities. At the same time, I also know that City Council is doing a lot of work to make the city accessible for the community as a whole. So the splash pad, the pool, the sports complex, all of these things demonstrate that the city cares about the kids and the community. So I just wanted to say thank you to the City Council for your hard work and for your dedication. A lot of what we do is geared toward our youth. We want to keep them busy, we want to keep them engaged, and Deer Park is growing. Our schools that have been and continue to be out of space. So we've got a task in motion to try to figure out how we work together as a community. I've been joining the Parks and Rec task force with Larry Fetter. He's done a really nice job of engaging the community and thinking about, hey, what is next for the city of Deer Park? How can the school district be involved in a part of that? Part of it is working with disc golf, Zach and David back there, and developing an agreement so that they can use some of the land that the school district isn't using right now and currently. Nyla coming to the high school and being able to use it for the choir. We're doing whatever we can to make sure that the city has access. At the same time, we're out of space during the school day. So much like anything, the only thing besides death and taxes that is constant is change. And so we've developed a community group. We've always had a facilities advisory committee probably for the last decade plus years, looking at our facilities, analyzing them, looking at the tax rates, looking at the costs associated with the facilities and what needs to be done. Some of you might be aware that we ran 2 bond measures that included an elementary school. It included the track and field. It included all the renovations at the current Arcadia. It included renovations for HomeLink to move into Arcadia because they're temporarily housed right now at the district admin office. So we had a huge bond measure that went out twice. And of course that takes supermajority of 60% plus 1 to pass. We were not yet ready for that. So we engaged the Facilities Advisory Committee, which is comprised of administrators, school staff, parents, community members, anybody who wants to be involved in the Facilities Advisory Committee. We came back to the drawing board and we said, what are our options? We looked at the greatest needs, we looked at the costs, we looked at the tax implications, we looked at timeline. They came back together and said, hey, here's our recommendation for the school board of directors. And the school board of directors, they said, what does the community think about that? So we sent out a survey and we said, community, What do you think about Project One? Our current building at Arcadia, that roof is 30 years old. It's leaking in the classrooms. We've got some security issues with the portables. We need some fencing. That carpet is 30 years old. Doesn't smell good all the time, especially after it's been wet and snowing. Right, so we've got Arcadia that we'd like to take a look at. Next, we have safety and security issues for all of our kids. I don't know if I should be sharing this with you, but I'm going to. Our phones are still on analog systems. They're hanging by a thread, meaning once that goes down, we're going to have to figure out our Band-Aid really quickly. Well, we'd like to get that up to digital format. And why is that important? Because it's connected to our emergency alert system. Why is that important? Right now, our K-5 schools, DPE and Arcadia, do not have outside intercom capacity. So that when we get that will fix the outside intercom. So if there's a threat outside, we're asking for our recess supervisors to use cell phones and walkie-talkies. Have you been outside at K-5 recess? It's hard to hear. In fact, the Arcadia principal told me she can hear the high school announcements going on all day. Right? So that's a safety concern for all of our students, K-5. And then the emergency alert system would be K-12. The next one is that the city has worked very closely with the Deer Park School District and engaged prior to my coming in a memorandum of understanding to be able to purchase the land at a very fair cost. And because we would be the first developers at the time, we will be on the hook for the road construction from D to Aspen up to Crawford, East D Street, I believe. So we will be doing that road too. That includes the land, the sewer, the sidewalks, all of those kinds of things. And then the fourth one, anybody remember the old mill? Have you been out there? It's now our transportation center. It is surrounded by wetlands. The land is constantly sinking, and so we're constantly pouring money into the driveway, and the gravel keeps creating more potholes. Our buses, they're about $200,000 a piece, and so having to go over that one-way bridge only, right, causes wear and tear on our buses. The tops of our buses, so when our bus drivers come in at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, they are not covered currently, so they spend extra time, gas, and money and efficiency getting those buses ready in the morning. It's also not in exactly the safest location for our bus drivers. They come back from trips, if you didn't know, until like sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning. They're coming back in pitch black. I think it's our duty and responsibility to keep our bus drivers safe. Not to mention that they have 2 bathrooms for about 40 employees, so we also have an outhouse for them to use, which is quite cold in 30-degree weather. So that's a side note. But those are our 4 projects. So what we've asked the community to consider is a $4.6 million capital levy, 4 main projects in 4 years. It's a very short-term capital levy. And the high school bond, the second part of it, is falling off this December. So the high school is now 20 years old. Well, it's actually approaching 21 years old. So again, the Facilities Advisory Committee took a look at the current bond that we have, looked at when it was going to fall off, and wanted to replace that. Wanted to be aware and didn't want to add additional taxes for our taxpayers. So anyway, long and short of it, we went back out to the community, we surveyed the community, we had very, very high positive feedback that this was a go, and so then that's when the school board of directors opted to put the capital levy on the ballot. Ballot should be in your boxes later this week. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, but one rule of thumb, and I know Mayor Tim knows this too, we don't make decisions in isolation as leaders. Right? This is done with the Facilities Advisory Committee, this is done with the school board, this is done with the community's input to make sure everybody knows what, why, and how this is happening. So again, I want to thank the city for partnering with the schools, and let us know. Let us know what you need. That's what we're here for. Our buildings are yours, and they belong to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Okay, next up, item B, economic development opportunities, Deer Park Municipal Airport, American Consulting. Mark, you have the floor.
Thank you. Give me my clicker.
Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mark Norton. I have a couple of roles. I'm the executive director for the Northwest I-90 Manufacturing Alliance, and that's an industry group around manufacturing. We have about 80 companies that are part of that, based here in Spokane. We cover Spokane, North Idaho, and Montana. And I'm a native to Spokane, by the way, it's in this region. So this is kind of near to my heart here, working with Deer Park. So what we're going to talk about a little bit today is just kind of an overview. Been meeting with some folks in the airport, Peggy and some other people. How can we make the airport here not only economically self-sustaining, but how can we use it to generate and do business development and manufacturing here in Deer Park. And I'm a big advocate for that because to me, manufacturing is one of the great economic levelers, right? Whether you're a press operator, whether you're an engineer or a finance person, there's really good jobs at all those levels. So that's part of what I believe in. So we'll get in that a little bit. Here's a picture of the airport right now. And yeah, go to the next slide, please. By the way, I want to wait right till the end to take questions. So if you could keep them, that'd be great. So just a little bit. Again, this is me. I do consulting. I work with the state. I advise. I wrote the 2023 Aviation and Aerospace Report for the Washington Legislature. And I'm also consult nationally in different media and stuff like that. And here, my partner who will be working with me on this, she couldn't come tonight. She had knee surgery recently. But Olivia Metz is actually over in Coeur d'Alene. She was the former labor economist for the state of Idaho. We worked on a couple of projects together. Extensive experience doing development for airports specifically and around aerospace manufacturing. So when we're talking about what is the return for your community, right, with development of the airport? So we talk about the investment multiplier effect, what comes out of that. So each dollar invested in airports, this is kind of coming from statistical background, invested in airports produces nearly triple the economic returns, boosting, and it boosts communities significantly. And I have some specific examples I'll show in a little bit. Job creation impact, numerous job opportunities, construction, operations, obviously the jobs in the factories, and then all the tertiary business that comes out of that in your community. You have people that are making good money, then that also helps the retail outlets because doing that can contribute to the schools. And I'm very involved in that, like in trades and schools. Tax revenue increases, obviously that helps provide operating capital for immediate improvements. And then local business expansion. And roughly, I think the statistics are for every manufacturing entity, you generate about 3 jobs for every direct job in manufacturing. So when you figure out material suppliers, service providers, all that. So there's a big economic multiplier effect. Thank you. So here's another, so here are some of the things that we're looking at. We identified what are the opportunities right here in the park that make the most sense. So one is expanding your private hangar capacity. And that, again, there's the direct cost of rental and so forth and service for all of that. You can drive growth of fuel sales. We have more hangars and we have more private aviation flying in here. They're spending, they're stopping, they're coming into town. They're getting a meal and all that. We want to look at develop and grow MRO, and that's the acronym for maintenance and repair operations, and that's a pretty good economic generator. There's not much here right now, but what's happening now is Phelps Field in Spokane is kind of getting into capacity, and they're starting to run into a need to have an alternate site for private people flying the planes. It's becoming more and more of a thing. Deer Park, obviously, proximity, well-positioned to fill that void. Part of what we would need to do, talk about a marketing plan, and this is one thing often missing from economic development. It's not a build it and they will come. They won't come if they don't know about it. That's why we need to really make marketing be a piece of this. We have to get out and promote the word, promote the awareness, promote the suitability. So your airport's already involved with some firefighting, wildfire fighting operations. That's a tremendous need to expand. As we all know, for those of us that live here, right, we're seeing this proliferation and more wildfire fighting investment money being spent. Again, a rural area is great. One of the things you have going for you here versus a big airport like Spokane International is you don't have a lot of air traffic. And that's a key criteria because the problem is for a busy airport like Spokane International, there's only so much bandwidth for flights to come in and out. So that's where rural airports can provide that support and be an alternate site. We would talk about an incentive program. That's one of the things we kicked around, along with the marketing would be, what can we look at to give people incentives to invest here and set up a plant, provide jobs. identify competitive differentiators. Some of the things that we have here, Daryl, I think, Daryl, right? We've got some capabilities for de-icing and low vis. Those are both good things to have. And then we have an industrial park there, as you know, starting to get developed. Ideally, and I'll get into this in a minute, there's certain industry segments where having proximity of the manufacturing company to the airport is a big value add. And we'll get into that in a minute here. So, Tier 1 to 3 supply chain. For those of you in aviation, this is a company called Crane. They're one of the primary, they supply all the avionics to Boeing and Airbus and people like that. So they're considered a Tier 1. We have, here in Spokane, we have probably 5 manufacturers that are direct to Boeing, but we have 20 companies that sell to the people that sell to Boeing. And that's actually a pretty significant part of our economy, along with the space and satellite industry over in Seattle. So some of the things we've talked about, so this would be one piece. We would be looking at trying to recruit these types of companies to come here. These are really good paying jobs, by the way, and they do a lot of their own training. So there are entry-level job opportunities there as well. The other thing would be air cargo. There's a trend now where companies like FedEx and UPS who do the deliveries for Amazon and online people like that. Typically, it used to be they would just go to big hubs like Spokane International. But what they're seeing now is they're starting to see economies by going to rural areas where they can fly directly into a rural airport and deliver the product out, whereas right now they have to go to Spokane, they have to put on a truck, they have to fight through the traffic to get here and get it out. It's a lot of time and money. So they're starting to look at investing more in rural airports as kind of a spoke, what we would call a spoke and hub design, where you have a central warehouse and then you distribute it out to small rural communities, and those are your further distribution points. So hopefully I'm making sense of all this. So this is an area that we think we're really set for here. The drone market in particular, when you're doing testing, has to be in a very low air traffic environment. And this shows you kind of what we're looking at. Right now, that market is worth $36 billion here. It's expected, in roughly another 10 years, it's expected to be almost triple that. And we're not just talking, we're not really talking so much here about the hobby drones, although that's maybe potentially something we could look at, a test range for those people. We're talking about commercial drones, and here's some of the applications. We all know delivery for Amazon and people like that. Firefighting, military is big. Infrastructure inspection, this is a big one here. In Coeur d'Alene, there's a company called Empire Drone Technologies. And that's what they do. They also lease out pilots to pilot the drones to inspect high tension lines, areas like that. They're difficult to get to. Probably can do it in about 1/10 the time. And that is becoming a big deal in the utility industry. And in agriculture, both actually even land-based as well as air-based. But for those of you who don't know, this is pretty cool. I don't know if you have any farmers here, people involved in that industry. So what they can do is they equip these drones with infrared sensing devices, and they can go out in the field and they can look and they can see what plants are diseased, what plants are dry, what has insect infestations, all that, and they can selectively apply insecticide, water, or fertilizer. Tremendous savings, and it's all done via drone. And that is a huge part of this growth here is going to be in the agriculture side. And again, here we are in a farming community, rural community. Could be a good opportunity. And I just thought I'd bring this up. This was just announced last week. Aurora Flight Sciences, which makes the big drones, they are very close to signing the deal to set up a plant in Coeur d'Alene. And that is going to be a big deal for this area. That will be the first direct Boeing investment in the Spokane-Coeur d'Alene corridor. So that's kind of an exciting piece. This is just some statistics of other communities that have done this, what's happened. So Startups and established companies, roughly in terms of the businesses that will set up there, 5 to 50, depends on a lot of different environment. 50 to 1,500 direct jobs, depending on what kind of industry it is. Those annual wages range from 60 to 90,000 just for technicians. Direct induced effects, again, 1.5 to 2 jobs are created per direct person in the drone industry. So again, these are kind of the things we've looked at. What is Deer Park best suited for? Wildfire surveillance, ag applications, pilot training, potentially could be another really good one. And then the combination of that with the industrial park that we have by the airport. So this is what I was talking about earlier. This is kind of a, I guess, a force multiplier, if you will. If they're doing and creating drones there and they have a test site right next to it, that's kind of a combination that a lot of places don't have. So that could be a value proposition. So this is an example in the backyard. So Pendleton, Oregon, which most of you know Pendleton, right? It's a tiny little town. It's like 30,000, 20,000 people. And they were about ready to shut down their airport. So their director came up with this idea because they're more so than this place, but they're in a very rural area, tons, 100 miles of uncontested airspace around it. He said, let's look at setting up a drone testing range and the drone pilot school. I guess 17,000. So that was probably, I want to say that was about 4 or 5 years ago they started that. It's grown to a level where they actually have a Radisson hotel at the airport now. We have so many people flying in actually from all over the world to do drone testing. That's the kind of economic impact it's had. And it helps not just that, but what happens, you have all these people coming in from outside, they've got to have some place to eat, they've got to have some place to stay. And the impact on the downtown has been significant because those people are coming in there and they don't, they're having to stay a day or whatever, they come in and they eat in the restaurants. And so the mayor there was very positive when I talked to him. Hangars, mobile command centers. So again, I'm kind of keep hitting some of the high points here, but again, we already have the strong relationships here with wildfire fighting. We have an ag environment around here. We do have, so the group I represent, right, we've got 50 companies in the greater Spokane region that are already involved in aerospace. And some of them are looking to expand, so that's another opportunity. And then potential collaboration. I think have you all heard about the Aerospace Tech Hub? Wow. Okay. So the Aerospace Tech Hub is currently founded out by the airport. And technology, the tech hubs are all over the U.S. It's a federal program, and it's all about driving innovation in manufacturing and helping the United States become a global leader because we've kind of lost ground. So I was part of the group that helped put this together. We got a federal grant. This program started out as part of the Build Back Better program. The original grant was $48 million. We got that, then it got pulled back with the change in. So we're going back at it again. But they have 60 Tier 1 primes that have signed matching funds for this facility out in LA Heights. And we're talking Boeing, Lockheed Martin, McDonnell Douglas, all the big players are there. And as that evolves, we're going to be seeing more and more people from aerospace coming into the Spokane region. And that provides another opportunity for economic growth. It's one of the things that I like the Valley. I work at the Valley Chamber quite a bit. We're just running out of land. So something within easy access of Spokane can be another example of that up and spoke to run. So these are some of the things that we've talked about. If you create these firefighting piece, the annual U.S. spend right now is $2.5 billion. And that's rapidly increasing. We've talked about we could do a specialized training center for wildfire fighting here, which we could base that at the airport. And then, of course, firefighting aircraft. We could become a fixed base operation for that as well. So one of the things we're going to look at is where we can We would try and leverage grants and federal funding and state programs and so forth to kind of help finance this, so it's not just all on the city. So we're going to look at federal and state grants. That's kind of constrained right now. Current administration, all of that's kind of been tightened up, but we think that will open up again. Private investment is definitely something that we could look at, especially if we can talk some companies into setting up an industrial park. Tribal partnerships are very interesting. Already got a little bit of that. Those communities are looking to provide other types of job opportunities for their community besides just working at a casino. And it also, especially if you get into wildfire management, which is culturally a big part of the Native culture, that could be another piece. So this is kind of what we would be looking at as far as kind of the roadmap of how we go about kind of figuring this all out. First, we assess the regional fit. So we go look at those things I've just talked about and say, is there really a fit for the airport and for the Deer Park community? So drone sectors, wildfire management, airport services, private sector joint use for manufacturing and testing. And then stage 2 is we look at, okay, what do we have and what don't we have? What are the gaps? And what do we need to address and what do we need to fill in? Stage 3, identify potential partners, investors, and public funding sources to support that launch. So again, we'll look at other sources of financing to help the community so it's not all leveraged on the backs of your citizens here. And we have to really dig into a high-level budget, long-term, what are the milestones, what do you need to do, start putting a real cost analysis together to look at what that's going to look like. And then we're really into talking about the plan, setting the milestones, and starting the implementation phase. So, plan development cost. We're talking roughly the scope of work that we just talked about. We would plan on doing bi-weekly progress reports. I live in 5 miles, so I can come up here pretty easy. Regular meetings, we'd have a whole team here, and our team, we'd be doing a meeting on a regular basis. Dynamic, flexible approach. I'm a big believer that you have to constantly monitor your plan, and if it's not working out the way you want, you've got to adapt and change. So that's part of the dynamic. We're looking at about $30,000 to develop that plan. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but it's a lot of hours, something like this together. And at that point, hopefully what you have is a full roadmap moving forward, and probably about 4 months to put that plan together, because we want to really make sure we're doing our due diligence, and that's interviewing people, that's assessing, again, doing kind of an assessment piece of infrastructure. There's still a lot of moving parts, and Peggy's got my contact information. If anybody's interested, they're welcome to just email me, and I'm happy to kind of go into more detail. So, I know I just gave you a huge information dump, but are there any questions from anybody?
Mark, could we start with council first?
Sure. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, any questions?
So the cost for this is $30,000, but it sounds like we're kind of getting an airport master plan and kind of getting an economic impact statement, but not quite all of both.
Right.
Has an economic impact statement been done that you're aware of, or?
That would be a question for you.
But you're not quite doing either one of those. You're just kind of doing a hybrid.
It's pretty much focused on business development, really.
And that roadmap at the end of that, does that provide the public with an understanding of the kind of public dollars you're talking about to make those? It's kind of like having a master plan. If you don't have the dollars to support it, right, it becomes a dusty thing you stick on your shelf, right?
Agreed.
Any idea where this has been done elsewhere? What kind of investment was required to see something like this through once your study was done?
Once it was done, it really varies because they vary so much in size. So I could probably give an estimate. We do. My partner Olivia has done some of this, and we could provide some case studies that we've done.
And these other ones, was there a lot of public input? I mean, after, say, a presentation like this, let's say the city of Umpqua, signs you up and you do this, how often does the general public get to go back and actually see the results of your work as it's going?
Well, I'd say we're happy to share that as we go. Yeah, honestly, yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of hard to really define cost of the plan, obviously, until you get on the plan, so it's a little bit chicken and the egg situation. But it is, we could provide you some numbers of, I think, what the top level, what the top level cost was for these communities to do some of this work. Be happy to do that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I do. So one thing I'd say, just kind of just being part of the community, kind of concerned about with some of the things. I kind of, so you looked at like some of these companies, an example like FedEx, are looking at these smaller hub airports already.
Yeah.
So what would the 30K consulting, like what would you do for us to, if they're already looking for places like this? Like, what are we getting out of it?
I think first you have to analyze the infrastructure to do that and see if it fits.
Okay.
So it's looking at, we've just done, obviously, we're doing this, and so far, haven't paid for it. So this is
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I get that.
So, but we have to do a deeper dive with that. And to see what's going on. It's a fairly recent trend. So that would be part of the scope of work we would look at, is looking at comparing what the investment is to set up for doing that.
Okay, and thank you. And then like the other thing I would just kind of think, such a small, like tight-knit community that's so compact and close. I mean, our radius is not very big. If we were to have a business like in Pendleton with drones flying over town, I mean, that would definitely.
Well, they wouldn't be flying over.
I mean, just still, I mean, it's anybody who flies a drone around here, kind of.
Yeah, and we're talking commercial drones. We're not talking.
Right.
So there's when this is set up, there's a designated range, right? That's very clearly defined. And part of the contract with people that come to use that is they have to stay within that way. So there wouldn't be, we would be sure that, the residential community are not involved. Daryl probably has a better idea on this, but that's part of all these drone facilities. And there's a lot of specific guidance. Even the FAA has a lot of guidance, right? That's why you didn't see them out by the airport. There's a fair amount of regulatory stuff. It actually needs to be done.
And we should, like I said, we don't have a ton of space. The spaces we do have, it's very rural. People like being in rural areas for the privacy and things. So, I mean, that's just a
good point.
concern that I would think that would come up.
That's a good point, yeah.
That's all I have.
I'd be interested to see what Daryl thinks. Initially, we'd have to consult with you a lot more, of course, but how's it sound to you?
Outstanding. I am not a marketer, and haven't, I mean, all of our marketing and all of the growth that we've experienced has been word of mouth. And like Mark said, Phelps is starting to get to the point of capacity. And with the recent tax changes in Washington State, we've got a lot of people flocking to Idaho, including probably one of our anchor tenant that really financially supports the airport right now. I think drawing in some businesses, some MROs, businesses that may work with the industrial park is nothing but a positive. And when Mark first mentioned the drone thing, I just kind of laughed and thought, well, yeah, that's crazy. And then I started, within the next couple of weeks, I was talking to the dean of University of North Dakota, and she said, well, do you have any kind of a drone program there at the airport? No. And she said, it's exploding. You need to look at that. One of my employees, his son is a master chief in the Coast Guard and runs the drone program for the Great Lakes. And he mimicked that conversation, and he said, what would be great with the light industrial park right across the street is control trailers. Also within that couple of weeks, we have a tenant on the field that I had no idea what he did, but he came to me and he said, hey, can we go out to your closed runway out there and do some taxi testing on a drone? And he said, he started talking about a contract that they have with Department of Defense, And he was saying, yeah, we custom built our trailer, and last week it was in San Diego with all these Marines running drones. So a lot of what Mark said, you know, kind of came to fruition for me. I always had, you know, the Costco drones in my mind, and it's like, well, what's that going to do for the airport? And I do want to say the airport is very proud to have been financially self-sustaining for the last 20 years, and we would like to continue that. We'd like the city's help with this, but on a contingency basis with a scheduled payback to the city for, you know, for the cost of the marketing.
Tim, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, a couple things, I guess. So the airport does have a master plan in place that identifies more capital projects. There is some zoning and land use in place as well, and so I did want to just touch on that briefly, but there's also lots of I think opportunities at the airport, and Daryl's worked really hard to make a name for this airport. It's really a real huge asset for the region. I think you're seeing people come, and he's right with the change in tax that might drive some people away. So bringing this industry in, and I think this group has a track record with the I-90 corridor work that they've done, and I've personally worked with Olivia on a number of other economic development plans, and she's great. I mean, she really does know what she's talking about, and you know, unfortunately, fortunately, planning is one of the first steps, and you got to have a plan in place to really pursue these opportunities and make it happen. And you know, a planning effort like this is the first of many steps, but really it's hard to bring them in when you don't have a plan in place to kind of paint that bigger picture of what this could look like in the end. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Just out of curiosity, when you talk about drones and drone operations, do we lose any level of local control? Who controls all the drone operations? Right now, you have to go to county's GIS mapping to look at, you know, flight restrictions. They're mapped over all the counties across the entire country now.
Yeah, so similar to Daryl, he runs these RC planes, and they're restricted to an area. So again, it would be a similar.
But we have that local control. Is it all the FAA?
Any commercial drone operations, I work with, his name's Alex Stevenson down at Spokane International. And first off, you know, we get the area that the commercial operator wants to work in. And I let him know, he looks at the map. He issues, we have a system in place called NOTAMs, Notices to Airmen. He actually issues a DROTAM, which is a NOTAM for drones. And then it's pretty well defined as to the altitude they'll be flying, the times, and the location.
Is that your question?
Talking about the drones and everything, how will that, or how could that affect the hobby flyers? The people that have their own personal planes that fly in and out, that maybe some of the people that are coming from Phelps Field?
In Pendleton, now we are trying to schedule a visit down there so that we can talk to them in person, but they have said it doesn't affect the operations of manned aircraft at all.
Because that has always kind of been what, hasn't it been, the hobby flyers have been a big part besides the
Yes.
wildfire
Absolutely.
team, so, I mean, we don't want to lose that, I wouldn't think.
Right.
So, my other question is, you're talking industrial park. Are any of the landowners in the industrial park going to be partnering with this?
That's the goal, certainly. Obviously, we don't know that until we actually have a product.
Will they help?
You got one here.
Will they be helping with the cost of what maybe the city is being asked to come up with? Is the question. You don't know.
We're not really in the drone industry. I mean, we're in
No, not drone,
Yeah.
but just as you're building up the industrial park area.
I mean, we have a bunch of open lots. We'd like to put them up in buildings and people
Sure.
want to film, you know.
So are you
The goal
buying
is
into
for,
this?
us to sell the lots or lease buildings to people that belong in this industry.
But will you be involved in this project or survey or whatever we're calling it?
This would be the first time I've been asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
That's
well,
part of,
yeah,
that's part of
I'd like to be.
doing the plan.
I mean, is it 30,000 from the city and money from landowners, or is it just coming from the city?
No, I mean, we want to get not only the planning grant money, but we like to find investors that are,
You have a question.
Sorry, yeah, just out of curiosity, what is the minimal like altitude a commercial drone can fly?
Is it 500 feet, Carol? Is that
I didn't.
the minimum height for commercial drones?
Right now, with most of the commercial operations, it's 400 feet and below.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Thank you.
And Daryl, real quick follow-up on Daryl's comment. The defense sector is a really interesting piece of this. Anybody who's been watching the battle with Ukraine versus Russia knows that drones have been the equalizer in that conflict. And the military is going in big time on drone technology investment. And with proximity to Fairchild here, that's another kind of interesting potential angle that we could be looking at.
With the Pendleton, scenario, are they testing or building drones down there?
They're doing mostly testing, and they train pilots there as well. So that's another piece that could come along with this. If you're going to have a testing site for the drones, you can also do pilot training for commercial pilots.
But there is also a manufacturer nearby that does parts and pieces for
Sure,
drones.
fixes all of them, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, you need pilots along with airports.
Yeah, and then as that evolves, then you can have, maintenance, repair, all other stuff that goes with it as well. Hank?
So I got a couple of questions for you. Why Deer Park versus Coeur d'Alene Airport? Why do we stand out? How do we stand out better from them with all the tax advantages of Coeur d'Alene, the other stuff? Right. Losing that direction. What makes you think that Deer Park is a better fit for some of this?
Well, I won't say that Coeur d'Alene isn't also an interesting potential site. I think the proximity of us to a major airport is one advantage that we have, because in Pendleton, people are flying in from all over the place. And also if we get the manufacturing park going here to support that industry, that would be a competitive advantage that we would have over a place like Coeur d'Alene, where we have the site, but they don't have actually manufacturing there. But it's a good question, though. It is, anybody here that's in business knows we are kind of at a disadvantage versus Idaho. There's nothing we can really do about that. Unfortunately, it's been that way for a long time. I don't think it's going to change.
So some of the other challenges that I just moved my business from Spokane Valley out to Deer Park, and we just developed our piece of property that's out in that area. And there's a bunch of 8-acre lots out there. And part of the challenge in what we did and what we see for others is that those lots are not very developable. What those guys have done at the end down there is fantastic. I like what they've put together. But for some of us, it's very challenging working with the city to be able to break up our lots and be able to make it into a smaller piece that people can bite off. So there's some challenges that the city needs to look at, I think, even before looking, maybe not before, but as well as looking with that, to make it easier to develop out there. Because right now, there's a whole bunch of hurdles. I've never developed anything before in my life. I'm a mechanic, right? So understanding how challenging it is to develop land was amazing to me. If I ran my business like that, I wouldn't be in business. So Deer Park also needs to be in a position, council-wise and city-wise, where we're ready to welcome those businesses and we want those businesses. Right. So I think we need to put that hat on as a city, but for anything, to make sure that we actually want this kind of development. And honestly, I haven't seen a whole lot of that out of the city yet, and maybe that's just because we haven't got a plan or whatever. But I guess those are questions we need to answer as a council first, maybe knowing, is this what we want? Is that the direction we want to go? And are we willing to fund these kinds of things? All those come in that same direction, but do we want that first, I guess? Because again, I haven't seen that out of the city. I was surprised how much I didn't feel like my business was wanted to be moved out here. So some of that from the city would be helpful to know that these businesses are welcome and wanted. So obviously, if we're going to pay out to have some study stuff done, then let's make sure that we're doing the right thing and going the right direction. That's what
Go ahead. In regards to Ellen's question about the the property owners and that, Aaron, of course, he and at his business, they own over 100 acres out there now. And Brad and I own 57. And we just put about $1.3 million into our development, and it's almost done. And the only reason we have that money is because we've worked here in this community for 30 years and put a lot into it. The only reason that's out there is because the city council and the city members have supported all of that for 20 years. Every one of us on our 2 parcels, we have over $100,000 LID on each of those parcels, paying for that Cedar Road, that everybody that developed those lands north of there are using it. So from the input of the property developers, no, I'm not gonna write you a check right now because we are investing. I am working. I have Omar from SVN, he is our broker. We will be paying him a lot of money to also recruit these businesses. I know, Hank, what you're saying. We have been doing this for 4 years, but I also understand that there are so many levels. I have been a developer and a contractor since I was 11 years old. I've been in the industry. There is state, there is county, there is city. And we have grown so much in the last 5 years, we just got to catch up. I don't want us to sit and ponder this because there is a window. And like I said, I've been working on this for 20 years to get to this point. The federal government gave us $8 million on an 80-20 grant, and all the property owners have paid the other percent. So there is massive investment already. So I see the value in it. You never asked any of those people downtown to put money into the retail downtown revitalization. And so this is part of economic development that if anything, if we build, the city gets all the tax benefits. The people get the tax benefits. This will build up and give us that economy that can get us our community center, that can get us another grocery store, that can do that. But we got to start somewhere. And that airport has since the 70s, they've said it's a diamond in the rough. Mm-hmm. And now it needs to be defined. We need to say what we want it to be and what it can be, and then we can go solicit. So I really do see it's not just this. It is all working together in a symbiotic way to make this community have jobs and everything we want. We're really working together, and I think I love this community, so.
Well, Hank, I don't know you. What's your business?
Advanced Auto Fabrication is my business. We're out on 200 North Cedar there. So just right by the airport.
And what do you build?
We do a whole lots of different things, but we manufacture our own line of race car parts. We sell them all over the world. We build race cars for customers. We do all sorts of different manufacturing bits and pieces. We build hot rods. We work on daily driver cars. We do alignments on trucks for 3 other businesses around the area. So there's lots of pieces to my business. We've got a big storage facility as well. So we were very happy to find some land and move out of Spokane Valley, and I grew up out here, so I'm happy to be back in the community. But I really would like to see from the community or from the leaders that yes, we want to grow, let's do this kind of thing. Whereas it feels like, well, if you want to come and do your thing, great, do your thing. That's how I was greeted. It felt like I would like some more, we'll help you, what can we do for you? That would be nice to see for business.
Sir, so the MRO, you touched on that briefly, and we've been drone specific for a little bit, but I mean, taxes, location trumps taxes. And I do think Deer Park's airport, I hear from a lot of my pilot friends, easy to fly in, easy to get out. Yeah. So what percentage of your plan, strategic study would be devoted to an MRO? What is our current capacity? What do we have currently that would service the volume? Are we at a delta of like, well, if we had 20% more, we could do 30% more business?
Sure.
That to me seems like a very quick win for Deer Park to garner more of the turn. You know, the fuel, the repairs.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's the near term, right? I mean, that is, as you say, that's something you could implement right away because you already got a foothold there. And the manufacturing piece and the drone piece is probably coming after that, just because it's going to take time to develop that and put it out there. But the MRO, I think, is a very near-term win for you because, as I said, Phelps is getting filled up. A lot of these private aviation people, there's not a lot of options for them for going MRO, and it's a nightmare to get in and out of Spokane International. So I think that's kind of a combination of factors that make that, don't you think, Daryl, a really interesting?
Absolutely.
Interesting piece. I think they'd love to fly in here instead of flying in Phelps or in SIA.
Oh, he's next, Bill. Go ahead, sir. Just to address the question of drone operations impacting like the private and business pilots, the drone requirements are usually quite a bit different. They don't need as much. They're not talking a 1,400, minimum of 1,400 feet for their takeoff or 1,000 feet for landing. Between you got essentially vertical takeoff, you've got some, of course, that are fixed wing that they do require a short runway. But on the other hand, you have different requirements for what a drone runway would be versus what private pilots need. And if a business wanted to put something like that in, that's something we could talk about. But it doesn't need to impact the active runway. And just as Daryl talked about the fact that a company wanted to do taxi tests, so they went to the old decommissioned runway. And it's like, okay, private and business pilots aren't using that. So it really doesn't impact anybody as long as we don't have the cars out there doing their training and that kind of stuff.
Tim, do you have a question?
No, I was just going to add on. I've been on the board for 12 years, airport board. We have spent all this time building up the airport and getting it into the direction of becoming what's called a C3. We're a B2 now. A C3 will allow a little bit larger jets to come in. We've worked hard with the firefighting with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. We've gotten DNR. We've gotten a Forest Service all flying with us. We have an MOU with Fairchild to do. They come out and do helicopter training. Daryl set the airport up in a good configuration. We can do jet, propeller fixing, recreation. We can do helicopters. The drone concept is really unique and different, and it would be a good thing for the airport in the direction that we're heading in, to expand the airport, make it larger. We don't want a control tower. We don't want to be under the FAA. We don't want to be under international at the international airport. So the direction we're going to head into would be a C3 stop there, and think the drones fit in very nicely with that.
Motion? No, that's not all. You want to table it? Yeah, let's table it. Okay, motion to table? I'll make a motion to table this. Second? Second. All in favor? I'm done unless there are more questions, Tim.
We had a lot. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you allowing me to share this. And yeah, and they have my contact information.
Okay, next up, item C, authorization for contract renewal fiscal year 2025 for Knoxville Airport, South Highway Development, additional design services, JDB Engineering. Daryl, will you attend?
So, as I mentioned before, this project has been cursed from the beginning. We started this project 23. We ran out of lots. We needed to add some more lots. Hey, let's put in a taxi lane, and we fought for eligibility with the FAA. Meanwhile, we did, we got some leases on these lots. Anyway, we've had some people that have wanted to build the hangars prior to the taxi lane going in, which we've had experience with before. And the short story is the first hangar to go in got put into the wrong place. So we have to move a taxi lane 10 feet in order to meet our Group 1 taxi lane obstacle-free areas. Grants are already in place. The quantities won't be affected too much as far as the construction of the taxiway, so we don't expect a lot of extra costs from the contractor, but there is some additional design work that needs to be done. Total of that design work is $13,000. So yeah, that's where we're at with the taxi lane moving.
Questions by the council? Motion? Motion approved. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Item 10, consent agenda. Letter A, approval of voucher claim check numbers 43,330 through 43,369, the amount of $334,280.52 for the first half of October 2025. Item B, approval of payroll check numbers 16,040 through 16,073, including PF&L, LTC, 941 taxes, and health benefits in the amount of $167,365.24 for the month of September 2025.
Motion for consent agenda.
I'll second. Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Item 11, council questions, comments, or reports. Kelsey from the Chamber, we'll start with you.
All right. I'll try and make this quick. So first off, for the 2026 board, we have openings. If anybody would be interested in serving on the board, it's like 2-hour a month commitment, right? 2-year commitment, but 2 hours a month. I thought it'd be great. So anybody interested in serving on the board, you can get a hold of me. We also have a downtown business meeting for the downtown revitalization coming up on Monday the 20th at 6 p.m. and we're going to be talking about the hometown Christmas. We'd really like any businesses that want to be involved. So like if Hank wanted to have a little booth set up, then we'd love to have you down there. So you want to come and look into that. October 21st, next Tuesday, is our economic development meeting. That'll be a luncheon at Masters at noon.
Thank you. Chase, you have any report?
Yeah, I wanted to just say something about the presentation that we just had. And so I would definitely like to hear more about that. I know we're tabling it. I think there's so much untapped potential there at the Deer Park Airport. And I'd have to agree with Peggy that I can really see value in this. So that's definitely something that I would like to look into more if everyone else is okay with that.
Is that it? Are you done?
Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, thanks, Chase. Fred, you're up.
It came to my attention, a couple residents, that we've got a problem with the motorized bicycles on the sidewalk. I I've seen it, and other people have seen it, they're just going too fast, too reckless, for safety issues. I'd like a motion, we're doing the comprehensive plan now, I would like to petition that we put that in motion to put that in the plan now. Put it on the agenda. That's all.
E-bike, they're called e-bikes.
What's that?
They're called e-bikes.
Yeah, I've heard that. Alexis, I appreciate your little folder here. I like the way you laid it out, what it would cost on medium property. The 400,000 would be what, $19, 14, maybe 14.
The 14.6
In
for the
additional
whole.
taxes, property ones. I think that's a good way, because a lot of people can't understand what it would mean to them, so I think that was a good thing for them.
Our goal is to keep it even and flat and predictable.
Ellen? Billy?
I got a couple things. So, here, Tim, when you go visit the third graders and they ask you the importance of voting, what do you tell them?
If you don't vote, don't bitch.
Anyways, we got the vote today, right? I got mine in the mail today. We got things that impact our community. You know, we got the capital levy coming up. Thank you, Alexa. I mean, the biggest thing is that people can go on Facebook and complain about things, but really show your voice by going out to the ballots. And as someone that has ran a couple elections, the most devastating thing is you put all that time and effort into something, and you only see about 20–25% of people show up to vote. So get out there and vote, please. Ballots coming out this week. We have both Tony Bailey and both of you guys stand up, David Oppenkamp. Please stand up. Yeah, both of you guys are running for city council. Tremendous, exceptional men, and we've been blessed to have both of you on council. So please show up for them. They've done a lot of hard work. They've gone around knocking on doors. They've put their signs out. So please just show up and vote. Read your voters pamphlet, do your research on your own, and vote. Just show up. The other thing I want to kind of talk about is I appreciate Kelsey and Jim showing up. You guys have been here. The chamber over the last 4 years have gone through a lot of crazy things, right? Changes, and I think our partnership that we have with the chamber is exceptional. I mean, we've talked to other communities and getting here, and we talked about Hank talking about this. Like, I always think of the chamber, like when as a small business owner, I come here and like I feel like them as a welcome community. Like I want to open a business here, I reach out to the chamber. That takes a village. It takes people volunteering. I know that prior to 2019, right now how the chamber works is that the city provides them a $500 a month to help pay for some of the administrative things. Prior to 2019, it was $1,000 per month. As we come up with our budget for 2026, I would like us to reconsider. I think they provide such a value to our town, to our businesses as we're growing like crazy. We talked about this hometown Christmas is something that has been blowing up like crazy. I mean, all Main Street is going to be just light up, like lit up like crazy. And the Night Out Against Crime, that was something that they took on a couple years ago. We weren't able to last year. I funded was a part of that issue. We try to keep it minimal to the members. I was a former president of the chamber, so we preface that too here. The next couple luncheons we talked about economic development. Jim's done a great job of bringing out economic development people from Spokane to talk about things that are opportunities for our businesses. November is going to be highlighting all of our, like we do every November, highlighting all of our nonprofits. Pastor Sapp is going to have a great, he's from Texas, and he can make a mean brisket, and he's making one at his church for everybody to come and participate with. And the biggest thing I think that we talked about is people have talked about is it's hard to do business in Deer Park, and I think our partnership with evolving with the chamber is huge, and I would just really like to consider the council as we go into our budget season for 2026 to reconsider upping our contribution with them. So I think they provide a lot of benefit. Like I said, they have one employee, everything else is all volunteers. So I would like to maybe put that on the next agenda item.
Good. Ma'am.
Well, we were talking, and Ellen and I have talked about it. And we think that the council needs to have maybe working sessions before council meetings where we get a little more in-depth information about master plan for the airport, what's going on with the roads.
Comprehensive plan.
Comprehensive plan. So, I mean, this is a great idea for the airport. But it's like, you know, he comes, makes a presentation, and you're asking us to vote. I think we need to sit down and have more information, talk among ourselves. The public would be welcome to come and have input. But it would just give us a little bit more depth to what we're doing. Because I feel we're starting to get into some really serious stuff here. So it would be something I'd like to pursue.
I think any of us feel comfortable just writing a check for thousands of taxpayer dollars without fully.
Right.
And I'd like to add to that, there's a lot of history that we're all new on the council. We aren't aware of a lot of things that have happened in the past that we're making decisions on, or all at once, maybe we're paying for stuff that we aren't aware that we're paying for because it's all happened previously. So those are good things for us, as Diane says, for us to just sit down. A half hour, maybe not every meeting, maybe once a month, but I think it's something we need to really push near town.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as somebody who's, you know, both temporary and new, two gentlemen that stood up, you know, the voters will speak and one of those two will be here starting in January. So, both temporary and new. I would make the suggestion, she's completely right. Maybe even do a first reading and then an action reading, you know, because there is a lot of public input in this. It would be great to have a first reading, have the presentation, and I would love to have the next 2 weeks before the next city council meeting, you can reach out to some of the residents and say, what do you think about that, get those ideas, have that chance to engage. And make sure that, you know, as a council member, I'm making the most informed decision I can make, you know, so. And to echo the get out and vote, you know, I do work at a county courthouse, and I guard ballot boxes and lock them up at the end of voting, and it's really sad when you sit at a ballot box for 6 hours and there's only 2 ballots.
Oh, yes.
So yes, please, and he's 100% right, they're door knocking, they're out there, they're doing the hard work, they're trying to earn your vote. You know, respect that vote, respect that civic duty, please, and go out and vote. Good? Yep.
Next up, reported departments. Daryl, we'll start with you.
Airport's just plugging along. Today was actually the official last day of fire season. Although we do still have a helicopter out there. The air attack departed, went off contract today. So now we're looking at getting ready for winter, working on our equipment. After the taxi lane movement that we spoke about, we have instituted a pre-construction meeting for each and every hangar in which we're involved, and we talk about not only the airport's requirements, but building requirements, fire marshal requirements with each builder, so they're fully aware of what they are required to do.
Jake, are you up?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Building as well as plugging right along. I think between yesterday and today, I probably put out 20 building permits for new houses. So the Deer Park Meadows development, I thought the machine was mowed in today, so they're going to be start digging holes for the first couple of those in that new development. And Gerald Horton and the Shamrock and the Dalton Creek, they're both plugging away. And we got a lumber drop finally on the foundations up there on High Desert with our terrace. So they're all starting to move, and should be moving fast before winter hits.
get foundations in, for the planning. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dick. Clint, you're up.
Thank you.
Sure. Nothing super spectacular to speak on, but my guys, they're gonna have all the water and wastewater sites ready for winter, turning on heaters, close events, opening drain valves. Hoping next week they can start on the spray farm, start the process of blowing that out. Last week, Dan and I were at a infrastructure funding conference in Wenatchee. We were able to get a couple promising leads on water infrastructure funding. It was smoky over there, but overall that was, I would say, a pretty successful conference. I want to give a quick update on water rights, the water rights deals the city's involved with. We currently ran into some unexpected title issues on the seller side. Because of this, we are planning on finding another extension to our purchase sale agreement. And that would be something that I would just work with him on, along with the council on that. But if they recall, Tim now has the authority, council gives him authority to do that. So that we can just do that with an addendum and an email essentially to the sellers. But anyway, yeah, so final extension, and ideally that would give them enough time to resolve the issues. And then once the title issues are resolved, that really triggers two things. We need to submit the water exchange application, which I've been in the process of doing, and it's pretty much ready to go. But before we can submit that change application, we will need to put together an additional task order, at a minimum with Aspect Consulting. So just a heads up on that, so they can help us through the rest of the water rate change process. I don't know if council members or not, but the last task order we did was through JB, and then Aspect was a sub for that, and that was supposed to basically take us to the point where we were drafting the water exchange application, but not actually submit it and go through the rest of the process. We'll have to do another task order. But really, we need to get those title issues resolved before then. So, not to get everybody lost in the weeds, but that's where we're at with that. So, yeah, that's all for me.
Thank you. Brad.
I have the guys out getting ready for winter. They've been out blowing out the sprinklers in all the parks this week. Hopefully we'll be done with that by the end of the week. We're going to try to leave the bathrooms on as long as we can. Clint's guys will be blowing out theirs, and then we'll come back to do the bathrooms. I hate to close them up when we have nice days like today, but it's getting, we had 26 degrees the other night, so that'll be coming. And just getting equipment ready for winter. We got the new machine ready to go, fabricated the snow gate for the end of the wing, and so yeah, just going to be busy getting ready for winter and fall cleanup. And we do have Clean Green coming up the 31st, which is Friday, and then Saturday the 1st.
Saturday from 8 to 4:30.
Yep, we do have that coming up. So.
Good, thank you. Dan, you're last.
So we've been working through different developments, reviews, civil drawings. We just held a public hearing for the Deer Park Golf Course last division that's going in the middle of that earlier this week. So that developer's looking to move forward here soon. Other than that, like Clint said, we were at a conference last week looking for some funding assistance. Other than that, just kind of working through projects different, the North Colville project, working on the right-of-way on that with the consultant. But yeah, just getting ready for winter and next season.
When are we gonna start on Colville? Is that gonna be in the spring now? Are we?
Yeah, it'd be in the spring. Yeah, so
It's too late now.
yeah, right now, the plan has been, we've got to work through a right-of-way phase right now, which there's no right-of-way to acquire, but there's temporary construction easements that we do need to acquire from all the property owners along the way. So that's where the start of that right now, and the hope is to be putting out the bid in the early spring for early spring, summer startup. So, yep.
Have we finished all the roofs?
I believe the roads are all complete, the chip seal. That's all complete with the exception of maybe a little bit of striping left to do. I think they didn't quite finish that yet, the weather got away from it. But yeah, so the roads are done. Ideally, in a perfect world, it would have been a little bit earlier in the year to give the chip seal the chance to kind of lay down, smooth out a little more than what it did. So, it's, I think next summer, you'll notice a pretty good difference in, once the heat comes back, rock's laying down a little more. But yeah, I think we did receive some poor feedback, but I think we gained quite a bit of good feedback as well. It gained us about roughly, give or take, 7 years of additional life to every one of those roads that we applied it to. So, that was money well spent, in the larger scheme of things. So.
Yeah. Brad, how many, with all the new development, how many extra miles do you now have snow plowing?
I've never figured it up, but we look at
It should be a lot.
we look at it more in hours because housing developments are time consuming because it's not, going out Crawford and back, I can plow that length in 20 minutes where I get into a housing development, it can take hours. So
You haven't figured that. Would be quite a bit, don't you think?
I have one item. We have a budget workshop, next Wednesday, October 22nd at 5 p.m. And I have a question for you Boy Scouts. Did you learn anything?
Oh, yes, sir.
How many thumbs down?
No thumbs down back here.
Thank you guys, you boys for coming, and girls.
Thank you very much for having us.
Anyway, we're at item 14, adjournment. Thank you all for showing up. It's nice to see this group.